The last human colony. Dr. Elena Martinez stood at the observation deck of Haven Station, watching the purple nebula swirl beyond the reinforced glass. Her fingers traced the cold surface as she thought about the message that had arrived 3 hours ago. After 200 years of silence, Earth had finally responded to their desperate calls for help. The response was not what anyone had hoped for. "They're abandoning us," she whispered to herself. Behind her reflection in the glass, she could see the lights of the colony flickering. Power rationing had become necessary 6 months ago when the main reactor began failing. Without replacement parts from Earth, every system on Haven Station was slowly dying. Elena turned away from the window and walked through the narrow corridors. The walls showed signs of age everywhere. Rust spots appeared despite constant maintenance. Paint peeled in long strips. The air recyclers hummed with an unhealthy grinding sound that made her teeth ache. This place had been her home for 30 years, ever since she arrived as a young scientist full of dreams about studying the unique properties of the nebula. She passed the hydroponics bay where Marcus was working. The old gardener looked up from his tomato plants and gave her a tired smile. His face was lined with worry. "Any news from the council meeting?" Marcus asked, already knowing the answer from her expression. "Earth said we're too far away. Too expensive to save. They suggested we evacuate to the nearest inhabited system." Elena tried to keep her voice steady. "That system is 40 light-years away. Our ships can barely make 5 before the engines give out." Marcus nodded slowly and returned to his plants. They both knew what this meant. The 1,700 colonists on Haven Station had nowhere to go. The station would fail within a year, maybe less, and there was nothing they could do about it. Elena continued to the medical bay where she worked. The small room was filled with outdated equipment that she had learned to repair with spare parts and hope. Her assistant, young Tommy Chin, was cataloging their medicine supplies. "Doctor Martinez, we're down to our last batch of antibiotics," Tommy said without looking up from his tablet. "And the vaccine storage unit is showing temperature fluctuations again." "I know," Elena replied. She sat down at her desk and pulled up the station's master systems report. Red warnings covered the screen. Life support was at 60% efficiency. Water recycling was failing. The navigation computer had crashed twice this week. The list went on and on. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Someone was requesting entry to the medical bay. Elena looked up to see Captain James Rodriguez standing in the doorway. The station commander looked like he had aged 10 years in the past month. "Elena, we need to talk," he said quietly. They walked together to his office, a small room cluttered with star charts and technical manuals. James poured 2 cups of synthetic coffee and handed one to her. The liquid tasted like dirt, but it was warm. "I've been going through the station records," James began, "looking for anything we might have missed, any possible solution." He paused and took a long drink of his coffee. "I found something strange. About 15 years ago, there was a first contact event that nobody talks about anymore."
Elena raised her eyebrows.
"I never heard about this. That's because it was classified and then forgotten. The previous station commander met a ship, not human. Not any species in the known database." James pulled up a file on his computer. They called themselves the Valorians, dragon-like creatures. Massive, powerful. The kind of aliens that make humans look tiny and weak. What happened during the contact? Elena leaned forward. "Nothing much. Brief greeting. Exchange of basic information." Then they left. The commander at the time decided not to report it widely because the encounter seemed insignificant. James scrolled through the old logs. But here's the interesting part. The Valorians left coordinates. A location where they could be reached if needed. Elena felt a small spark of hope flicker in her chest. "You think they might help us?" "I think we have no other choice but to ask," James said firmly. "Earth has abandoned us. The nearest human colonies are too far away." "But the Valorians are only 3 weeks away at maximum engine burn." 3 weeks would drain our remaining fuel reserves," Elena pointed out. "If they refuse to help, we won't have enough power to get anywhere else. We're dead anyway if we stay here." James met her eyes. "The reactor will fail completely in 8 months, maybe 7. We need to take this chance." Elena thought about the 1,700 people living on Haven Station. Families. Children. Scientists and workers who had dedicated their lives to maintaining this lonely outpost at the edge of explored space. She thought about Marcus and his tomato plants, about Tommy and his careful inventory lists, about all the ordinary people doing their best to survive against impossible odds. "What do we know about these Valorians?" she asked. "Their culture? Their values? Whether they're likely to help a dying human colony." Almost nothing, James admitted. The old records say they seemed honorable, polite. But that was just one brief meeting 15 years ago. They might have changed. They might not care about our problems. They might even be hostile now. Elena stood up and walked to the window in James's office. Outside, she could see the nebula again. Beautiful and deadly. Space was full of wonders, but it had no mercy for those who could not survive its harsh realities. "When do we leave?" she asked quietly. "I'm calling a council vote tonight," James replied. "But I wanted to talk to you first. You're respected here. People listen to you. If you support this plan, others will follow." Elena turned back to face him. "It's a desperate gamble. All we have left are desperate gambles." She nodded slowly.
Then let's roll the dice. Call your meeting.
"I'll support the mission to find the Valorians." That evening, the station council gathered in the main assembly hall. Every department head was present. The mood was somber as James explained their situation and proposed the journey to contact the dragon-like aliens. Arguments erupted immediately. Some people called it suicide. Others said it was their only hope. When the vote finally came, the result was narrow but clear. They would go to the Valoronians and ask for help. Haven Station would burn its last reserves of fuel on one final desperate journey into the unknown. The journey to find the Valorians began 3 days after the council vote. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the station, watching as the last preparations were completed. The engines had been pushed to their maximum capacity, and every non-essential system had been shut down to conserve power. The station felt colder now, darker, as if it knew it was being pushed toward its final purpose. Elena worked double shifts in the medical bay, preparing for any emergencies that might occur during the journey. She created emergency kits and trained volunteers in basic medical procedures. If something went wrong while they were traveling through deep space, there would be no rescue coming. They had to be ready for everything. Tommy helped her organize supplies into portable containers. The young man had grown quieter since the vote. Elena knew he was thinking about his younger sister, who was only 8 years old. What kind of future could they promise her now? "Dr. Martinez, do you think the Valorians will actually help us?" Tommy asked as he sealed another medical kit. Elena paused in her work. She wanted to give him hope, but she also believed in honesty. "I don't know, Tommy. We know almost nothing about them. But I do know that staying here means certain death. At least this way we have a chance." The first week of the journey was tense but uneventful. The station's engines burned steadily, pushing them toward the coordinates left by the Valorians 15 years ago. People went about their daily routines trying to maintain some sense of normalcy. Children still attended school. Workers still maintained the failing systems. Life continued, even as everyone felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on them. Marcus spent his time in the hydroponics bay, talking to his plants as if they could understand his worries. Elena often found him there during her breaks, finding comfort in the green growing things that represented life and hope. "These tomatoes don't care about politics or alien dragons," Marcus said one evening as Elena sat beside him. "They just keep growing, keep trying to make fruit, even when everything around them is falling apart. Sometimes I think plants are smarter than people." Elena smiled at that. Maybe they are. On the 10th day of the journey, the navigation systems detected something, a massive energy signature ahead of them, exactly where the old coordinates indicated. Captain Rodriguez called Elena and the other council members to the bridge immediately. "Whatever it is, it's huge," the navigation officer reported. Her hands moved quickly across the control panels trying to get more detailed readings. "At least 10 times the size of our station. And it's definitely artificial." As they drew closer over the next several hours, the object resolved into a magnificent structure. It was a space station unlike anything humans had ever built. Sleek curves and towering spires mixed with organic-looking structures that seemed to pulse with inner light. The whole thing gleamed like a massive jewel floating in the darkness of space. "That's beautiful," Tommy whispered. He had come to the bridge with Elena, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's also intimidating," James added. "A civilization that can build something like that could destroy our little station without even trying." Elena felt her heart racing. They had come so far on such a desperate hope. Now they were about to find out if that hope had any foundation in reality. James opened communication channels and sent out a basic greeting in multiple languages, along with mathematical sequences to demonstrate intelligence. Then they waited. Minutes stretched into an hour. The beautiful alien station remained silent. "Maybe nobody's home," Marcus suggested. He had joined them on the bridge, unable to stay away during this crucial moment. Then the communication panel lit up. A deep voice filled the bridge, speaking in heavily accented but understandable English. "Human vessel Haven Station. We remember you. We did not expect you to return." James stepped forward. "This is Captain James Rodriguez of Haven Station. We come seeking assistance. Our station is failing and Earth has abandoned us. We have nowhere else to turn." Another long pause. Then the voice spoke again. "You will send one representative to board our station. Come alone and unarmed. We will discuss your request." The council immediately began arguing about who should go. James insisted it should be him as captain. Others argued for sending a diplomat or scientist. Elena listened to them debate for several minutes before she spoke up. "I'll go," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her.
James shook his head immediately.
"Elena, no, it's too dangerous." "I'm a doctor," Elena replied. "I represent healing, not warfare. I'm also a scientist who has spent decades studying the nebula. I can speak about our work here with genuine knowledge and passion. And I'm not crucial to the station's immediate survival like you are, James." The logic was sound, even if James didn't like it. After more discussion, the council reluctantly agreed. Elena would be their representative to the Valorians. She prepared quickly, changing into her cleanest uniform and gathering a small data pad with information about the colony. Tommy helped her, his hands shaking slightly as he checked her emergency medical kit. "Come back safe, Dr. Martinez," he said softly. "I will," Elena promised, hoping she could keep that promise. The shuttle ride to the Valorian station took only 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. Elena watched through the small viewport as the magnificent structure grew larger and larger. Up close, she could see the incredible detail of its construction. Crystalline surfaces reflected starlight and rainbow patterns. Organic-looking tubes connected different sections. It was like something from a dream. The shuttle docked at a designated port, and the airlock cycled open. Elena stepped through into a corridor that took her breath away. The walls seemed to be made of living light, shifting through gentle colors. The air smelled of something sweet and clean, unlike the recycled staleness of Haven Station. A figure waited for her at the end of the corridor. Elena's first impression was of size. The Valorian stood at least 12 feet tall, with scales that shimmered like polished metal. Great wings were folded against its back. Its face was long and reptilian, with intelligent golden eyes that studied her carefully. The creature was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. "I am Keeper Sharnath," the Valorian said in that same deep voice she had heard over the communication system. "Welcome to Sanctuary Station. You are very small." Elena swallowed her fear and stepped forward. "I am Dr. Elena Martinez. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. And yes, humans are small compared to your people." Sharnath's eyes seemed to gleam with something that might have been amusement. "Small, yes. But you traveled far to find us. Come. We will talk, and you will tell me why I should care about the fate of your dying station." Keeper Sharnath led Elena through corridors that seemed to shift and breathe with light. The Valorian moved with surprising grace, despite its massive size, wings folding and unfolding slightly as it walked. Elena had to take quick steps to keep up with the creature's long stride. They entered a large chamber with walls that displayed images of distant stars and nebulas. In the center was a raised platform surrounded by comfortable-looking seats sized for beings much larger than humans. Sharnath gestured for Elena to sit on a smaller bench that appeared to grow from the floor itself. "Your station sends distress signals into the void," Sharnath said, settling onto the platform with its tail curling around its body. "We have been monitoring these signals for some time." "Why did you wait so long to seek our help?" Elena felt embarrassed. "We didn't know if you still existed at these coordinates. The only record of your people was from 15 years ago, and honestly, we hoped Earth would help us first. But Earth has abandoned you." It was a statement, not a question. "Yes," Elena admitted. "They say we're too far away, too expensive to save. They suggested we evacuate, but our ships cannot reach any safe harbor. We're stranded here, watching our station die piece by piece." Sharnath's golden eyes studied her for a long moment. "Your species interests me. You build homes in the most dangerous places. You push into the darkness without knowing what waits there. You risk everything for knowledge and exploration." "Why?" Elena thought carefully before answering. "Because staying still feels like dying. We want to understand the universe. We want to grow beyond our limits. Maybe it's foolish, but it's who we are." "Foolish indeed," Sharnath agreed. "But also brave. Bravery and foolishness often look the same from the outside." The Valorian shifted its position. "Tell me about your people on Haven Station. What makes them worth saving?" The question caught Elena off guard. She had prepared arguments about strategic value, about scientific discoveries, about future cooperation between their species, but Sharnath wanted something different, something more personal. "There's a man named Marcus who grows tomatoes," Elena began slowly. "He's been doing it for 40 years. The plants shouldn't even grow properly in our artificial environment, but he talks to them every day and somehow makes it work. He shares his harvest with everyone on the station, especially the children." Sharnath tilted its great head, listening. "There's a young man named Tommy who catalogs medicine with the most careful attention to detail I've ever seen. He never complains about the boring work because he knows that one mistake in the inventory could cost someone their life. He has a little sister who wants to be a pilot someday, even though she's never seen a planet." Elena felt her voice growing stronger as she continued. "There are teachers who keep educating children even though we don't know if those children will have a future. Engineers who repair systems with spare parts and creativity because we have nothing else. Parents who tell their kids bedtime stories about Earth, a planet most of them have never seen. These are ordinary people doing ordinary things," Sharnath observed. "Yes," Elena agreed. "But they do them with hope. They do them with dedication. They take care of each other even when everything is falling apart. That's what makes them worth saving. Not because they're special or important in some grand universal scheme, but because they refuse to give up on life and on each other." Its wings shifted slightly, and the light in the chamber seemed to pulse in rhythm with some unheard music. Finally, the Valorian spoke again. 15 years ago, we met your previous commander. The encounter was brief and formal. He seemed afraid of us, though we tried to hide it. He asked many questions about our technology and our military capabilities. He wanted to know if we were a threat to humanity. And now I come asking for help," Elena said softly. "Yes, the difference is significant." Sharnath stood and walked to the wall displaying the stars. "My people are ancient compared to yours. We have seen many civilizations rise and fall. We have learned that technology means nothing without wisdom. Power means nothing without compassion." Elena waited, barely breathing. "There was a time many thousands of years ago when my people were like yours, young, ambitious, pushing into dangerous places. We nearly destroyed ourselves through our own arrogance. We were saved by another ancient race, the Zeltari, who showed us mercy when we deserved none." Sharnath turned back to face Elena. "The Zeltari are gone now, vanished into history. But they taught us an important lesson before they left. They said that the measure of a civilization is not in its strength or knowledge. It is in how it treats those who cannot help themselves. So you'll help us?" Elena felt hope rising in her chest. "I did not say that," Sharnath replied. "I said you interest me, but helping you is not a simple decision. My people do not interfere lightly in the affairs of younger species. We have learned that giving too much assistance can be as harmful as giving none at all." Elena felt the hope draining away. "Then why did you agree to meet with me?" "Because I wanted to look into your eyes and see what kind of people you are. Because I wanted to hear you speak of your colony not as resources or strategic assets, but as individuals who matter." Sharnath moved closer, and Elena had to crane her neck to meet those golden eyes. "Tell me, Doctor. Martinez, if I gave your station the technology to repair itself, what would your people do next?" Elena considered the question carefully. Some would want to use it to expand, to build more stations, explore more systems. Some would want to go home to Earth and share what we learned. Some would just want to live their lives in peace, growing tomatoes and raising children. "And you? What would you want?" "I would want to understand why you helped us," Elena answered honestly. "I would want to learn from you. Not just your technology, but your wisdom. How you survived long enough to become who you are now." Sharnath made a sound that might have been laughter, an answer I did not expect. "Most humans ask for tools and machines. You ask for knowledge and understanding. Tools and machines break down," Elena said. "Understanding lasts." The Valorian returned to its platform and settled down again. "I will make you an offer, Dr. Elena Martinez. But it comes with conditions that your people may not like." "I'm listening," Elena said. "We will repair your station. We will provide you with technology to sustain yourselves for many generations. We will even teach you how to maintain and improve these systems on your own." Sharnath paused. "But in return, Haven Station must become a place of learning and cooperation. You must accept students from other species who wish to study your nebula. You must share your knowledge freely with others, as we are sharing with you." Elena felt her mind racing with the implications of Sharnath's offer, a place of learning open to multiple species, sharing knowledge freely. It would transform Haven Station from a dying human outpost into something entirely different. "There's more," Sharnath continued, watching her carefully. Your people must agree to follow certain principles. No weapons development on the station. No territorial claims over the nebula or surrounding space. All research must be conducted ethically and shared openly, and most importantly, you must never use what we teach you to harm others. Those are significant conditions, Elena said slowly. I don't have the authority to accept them on behalf of everyone on Haven Station. I know. That is why you will return to your station and present this offer to your people. They will vote. If they accept, we will begin repairs immediately. If they refuse, you will leave with enough fuel to reach the nearest human colony, though many will likely die during the journey. Elena stood up from the bench. May I ask you something, Keeper Sharnath? You may ask. Why do you care if we develop weapons or make territorial claims? Your people are so much more advanced than ours. We couldn't threaten you even if we wanted to. Sharnath's wings rustled softly. We do not fear you. We fear what you might become if you follow the wrong path. Young species are like children playing with fire. They do not understand the consequences until they have already burned themselves and others. The Valorian stood and moved closer to Elena, its shadow falling over her. My people made terrible mistakes when we were young. We fought wars that turned entire star systems into graveyards. We created weapons that should never have existed. We almost destroyed ourselves along with countless innocent civilizations. The Zeltari saved us, but at great cost to themselves. What happened to them? Elena asked softly. They exhausted themselves saving species like ours. They gave and gave until they had nothing left to give. They faded away, scattered across the galaxy, too few and too tired to maintain their civilization. Sharnath's voice carried deep sadness. We do not wish to repeat their mistake. We help when we can, but we also set boundaries. We save those who want to be better, not just those who want to survive. Elena understood now. This offer was not just about repairing a station. It was about choosing what kind of future humanity would have in this region of space. A future built on cooperation and shared knowledge, or a future of isolation and eventual death. I will present your offer to my people, Elena said, and I will recommend that they accept it, even though it means giving up control. Even though other species will walk your corridors and study your nebula? Yes, Elena replied firmly, because isolation is what got us into this situation. Earth abandoned us because we were too far away, too different, too much trouble. If we become part of something larger, if we build relationships with others, maybe we'll never be abandoned again. Sharnath made that sound like laughter again. You are either very wise or very naive, Doctor. Martinez, time will reveal which. The journey back to Haven Station felt shorter than the trip out. Elena's mind was full of thoughts about how to present Sharnath's offer. Some people would be excited by the opportunity. Others would see it as losing their independence. The debate would be intense. Captain Rodriguez met her at the docking bay, his face tight with worry. Well, what did they say? They'll help us, Elena said. But there are conditions, serious ones. We need to call a full assembly immediately. Within 2 hours, every adult on Haven Station had gathered in the main assembly hall. The room was packed, with people standing along the walls and sitting in the aisles. Elena stood at the front beside James, looking out at the sea of worried faces. She explained Sharnath's offer in simple, clear terms. The repairs and technology they would receive, the requirement to become an open research station, the prohibition on weapons and territorial claims, the need to share all knowledge freely. As expected, arguments erupted immediately. We'd be giving up our sovereignty, shouted a man from the engineering section. Letting aliens tell us how to run our own station. We'd be giving up our death sentence, countered a woman holding a young child. I don't care who walks these corridors as long as my daughter has a future. An older scientist stood up. Opening our research to other species could accelerate our understanding of the nebula by decades. This is an incredible opportunity. Or it could mean we lose credit for our own discoveries, another scientist argued back. Earth might not even recognize our research if it's done in collaboration with aliens. Marcus raised his hand from the middle of the crowd. May I say something? The room quieted down. Marcus was respected by everyone, even those who disagreed with him. He walked slowly to the front, his weathered face thoughtful. I'm just a gardener, Marcus began. I don't understand politics or diplomacy, but I understand growing things. And I know that plants don't grow well in isolation. They need exchange. Bees carry pollen from flower to flower. Birds spread seeds. Fungi connect tree roots underground so they can share nutrients. He paused, looking around the room. We've been trying to survive alone, and we're dying. Maybe it's time to be part of a garden instead of a single pot sitting by itself in the dark. The simple analogy seemed to resonate with many people. Elena saw faces changing, minds opening to the possibility. Tommy stood up next, his young voice nervous but determined. My sister is 8 years old. She wants to be a pilot. She wants to see other worlds and meet other people. How can I vote to deny her that future just because I'm afraid of change? More people began to speak, sharing their hopes and fears. The debate went on for hours. Elena watched and listened, letting the colony work through the decision together. This was too important to be rushed. Finally, as the station's artificial night cycle approached, Captain Rodriguez called for a vote. Every person over the age of 16 would have a say. The voting was done electronically, anonymous, and immediate. The results appeared on the main screen. Elena held her breath. 68% in favor of accepting Sharnath's offer. A cheer went up from part of the crowd, while others sat in quiet disappointment. But the decision was made. Haven Station would become something new. It's something that had never existed before in human history. A shared place of learning between species. James turned to Elena. I hope we're making the right choice. So do I, Elena replied. But at least now we have hope. That's more than we had yesterday. She opened a communication channel to the Valorian station. Keeper Sharnath, this is Dr. Elena Martinez. Haven Station accepts your offer. We agree to all your conditions. When can you begin? The deep voice came back almost immediately. We begin now. Prepare your people for visitors. The future you have chosen will not be easy, but it will be interesting. The first Valorian ship arrived at Haven Station 6 hours after the vote. It was smaller than Elena expected, about the size of one of their cargo transports, but it moved with elegant precision as it approached the docking port. Through the observation windows, hundreds of colonists gathered to watch history being made. Elena stood with Captain Rodriguez and the council members, trying to calm her racing heart. They had voted for this. They had chosen this path. But seeing an alien vessel actually dock with their station made everything suddenly real and terrifying. The airlock cycled open. 3 Valorians entered, each one as magnificent and imposing as Sharnath. They had to duck their heads to fit through the corridors designed for humans. Their scales reflected the station's lights in shifting colors, and their wings stayed carefully folded to avoid damaging the narrow passages. The lead Valorian, slightly smaller than the others, spoke in careful English. I am Builder Keshtar. These are my assistants. We will begin assessment of your station's systems immediately. James stepped forward, trying not to show his nervousness. Welcome to Haven Station. We're ready to assist however we can. Keshtar's golden eyes swept across the gathered humans. You are all very small and very fragile. We will try not to break anything. The Valorian's tone was serious, but Elena thought she detected a hint of gentle humor. Over the next few days, more Valorans arrived. Engineers, technicians, and scientists, all moving through Haven Station with careful deliberation. They studied every system, took measurements, and had long discussions in their own musical language that sounded like wind chimes in a storm. The colonists reacted in different ways. Some people avoided the Valorians, uncomfortable with their size and strangeness. Others followed them around with curious questions. The children were the most fearless, approaching the massive aliens with innocent wonder. Elena watched as a small girl named Lucy, no more than 5 years old, walked right up to Builder Keshtar in the main corridor. The Valorian stopped and looked down at the tiny human child. You are very big, Lucy said matter-of-factly. You are very small, Keshtar replied, lowering its head to see her better. What is your name, small one?
Lucy?
I like your scales. They're pretty like my mama's jewelry. Keshtar made a pleased rumbling sound. Thank you, Lucy. Your station smells like growing things and metal and hope. I like it here. The simple exchange made Elena smile. Perhaps this would work after all. Marcus invited the Valoronians to visit his hydroponics bay. They came in a group, carefully maneuvering their large bodies through the doorway. Keshtar studied the tomato plants with intense interest. You grow food in artificial conditions, the Valorian observed. This requires great skill. Marcus beamed with pride. It's not so hard once you understand what the plants need. Light, water, nutrients, and someone who talks to them regular-like. Talks to them? Keshtar tilted its head.
Sure, plants are living things.
They respond to attention and care, just like everything else. Marcus gently touched a tomato leaf. This one here, I call her Big Bertha. She's my best producer. The Valorians exchanged glances, and Elena heard them speaking in their own language. Then K-Star surprised everyone by gently extending one clawed finger to touch the same leaf Marcus had touched. In our early history, my people also believed that all living things respond to care and attention. We had forgotten this wisdom as we grew more advanced. Perhaps your species will remind us of what we lost. The repairs began in earnest after the first week. The Valorians brought technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. Devices that could seal cracks in the station's hull without welding. Panels that generated power from quantum fluctuations in space itself. Water recyclers so efficient they could extract moisture from the vacuum itself. But they didn't just install everything and leave. True to Sharnoth's promise, they taught the humans how everything worked. Tommy spent hours learning from a Valorian named Tekria, absorbing information about maintenance and repair procedures. His sister Jenny often sat nearby, watching with wide eyes. "Why do you help us?" Jenny asked Tekria one day. "We can't give you anything in return." The Valorian paused in its work. "You give us something very valuable, small Jenny. You remind us why we became what we are. You remind us that every civilization starts small and fragile and hopeful. Helping you helps us remember who we used to be." 2 months after the repairs began, the station's systems were running better than they had in decades. The reactor hummed with steady power. Life support operated at 100% efficiency. The corridors felt warmer, brighter, more alive. But the transformation was about more than just physical repairs. Keeper Sharnoth arrived personally to oversee the next phase. The ancient Valorian gathered the colony in the assembly hall for an important announcement. "Haven Station is now stable," Sharnoth declared. "But our agreement included more than just repairs. It is time to open your doors to others." Over the following weeks, new arrivals began to appear. First came a small group of Valorian students who wanted to study the nebula's unique properties. Then came representatives from other species. The Quillrath, beings of living crystal who communicated through light patterns. The Noram, small furry creatures with 6 limbs and incredible mathematical minds. The Sheks, aquatic beings who needed special environment suits to survive in the station's atmosphere. Haven Station's population doubled, then tripled. Engineers worked to build new sections with different environmental controls. The hydroponics bay expanded dramatically, with Marcus teaching alien students how to grow food from their homeworlds alongside Earth crops. Elena found herself working with medical staff from 6 different species, learning new techniques and sharing human knowledge in return. The work was challenging and sometimes frustrating, but it was also exciting in ways she had never imagined. Tommy's sister Jenny started attending classes with alien children her own age. She came home one day chattering excitedly about her new friend, a young Quillrath named Shimmer, who could create beautiful light shows just by thinking. "Mama said she never thought I'd have alien friends," Jenny told Elena. "But Shimmer isn't scary at all. She's just different, and different is interesting." Not everything went smoothly. There were misunderstandings and cultural conflicts. Some humans still resented the alien presence. Some aliens found human behavior confusing or frustrating. But slowly, gradually, the different species learned to live and work together. 6 months after Elena's first meeting with Sharnoth, Haven Station had become something unprecedented, a true multi-species community in deep space. Research stations from across the region began requesting to visit, wanting to study both the nebula and the unique social experiment happening on the station. Earth finally sent a delegation, curious about what had happened to the colony they had abandoned. The representatives were shocked to find Haven Station not only surviving but thriving. They tried to reassert human authority over the station, but Captain Rodriguez politely declined.